Now, let's turn to the US presidential contest, and it seems Joe Biden has learnt nothing from Hillary Clinton's error in calling Trump supporters a basket of deplorables, because Biden seems to be choosing to villainize Republican voters as enemies of the state. Shortly after Donald Trump's win in the Iowa caucuses, Biden took to social media to say, "Looks like Donald Trump has just won Iowa. He's a clear frontrunner on the other side at this point, but here's the thing. This election was always going to be you and me versus extreme MAGA Republicans." And then Kamala Harris seemed to follow up his comments today. Have a look.
I am scared as heck. Yeah. Which is why I'm traveling our country. So many of us know when we are scared for the future of our children, do we then stay in bed with the covers over our head?
Nope.
No.
Matt, are you more scared for the future of not just the US but the world if you had Kamala Harris as president or Donald Trump?
Well, I'll leave a decision for the leader of the free world, the leader of the United States, up to the people of the United States. But I've been very, very concerned with the politicisation, the weaponisation of the US judicial system going after political opponents. That is very sad, and I hope it's not a trend we follow here in Australia. But I mean, the basic principle here is, I suppose, in fairness to Joe Biden, in fairness to him, I doubt very much that he actually did tweet that. I reckon his staff probably did it. But regardless, it's in his name. And you know, the thing is, the more you attack your political opponents in this kind of over-the-top way, invariably the higher their poll results go. And that's what we've seen in the US. The more they go after Donald Trump through the court system, through this intemperate language about calling all of his supporters extremists, the higher his poll numbers and the higher his popularity seems to go. So, I don't know, maybe secretly they actually want Donald Trump to be president, because the way they're going about it, they're increasing the chances that he does achieve that every day.
Kosha Gada, I mean, it's not just that all of the cases against Trump have galvanised support for him, have turned him into a martyr. Adding to that, you've also got in the US a teetering economy, soaring food and gas prices, a border crisis, multiple international conflicts that aren't popular with many Americans. So do you think all of this, particularly the immigration scandal, is working in Trump's favour?
You got it. I think those are the two dynamics. So one is he has become a martyr, and with each indictment, I mean, he jokes about it, but it's true, with each indictment, he goes up in the polls 5 points. The other is the record right now, just the reality on the ground, the porous border. You've got 8 million people or higher that have crossed over illegally under the current administration's tenure, and that takes the total number to about 30 million illegals in the country. The entire population of Australia is the equivalent of what is illegally in that country. You cannot govern a country in that way. And it's now showing up at people's doorsteps. So it's much more, there's a lag effect to it, but people can actually feel it in their day-to-day lives as they're getting bussed up and taking over schools and shelters and all of that. You've got generational inflation. You've got these 3 wars that are very much at the risk of escalating. Trump always mentions how, you know, under his time, there were none. And people see that and trust that. You know, he's a mixed bag. He's not everybody's cup of tea. But I think the stylistic issues with him that people don't like feels very small ball when juxtaposed against this kind of backdrop that the incumbent has. And for all those reasons, I think you see why Trump right now is beating him in all the polls in the swing state. But there's still a year to go and a lot more twists and turns to come. So we can't really predict with any certainty how this will end up.
Matt Canavan, the Chinese ambassador to Australia, has accused Japan of being behind the sonar attack on our navies. I mean, he was also all smiles yesterday, having a laugh with our officials. But then he really said some things that were very critical of Australia, and he said he didn't expect us to in any way respect the political outcome of the elections in Taiwan. Let's have a quick look at his comments.
We're ready to compromise. We're ready to show flexibility on many issues, for example, in trade issues. But on the question of Taiwan, there's no room at all for us to show flexibility or to make compromise, because it involves China's sovereignty and territorial integrity. Because I noticed there are people in this country, I'm not talking about the government, I'm talking about the people. There are certain people in this country, there are certain forces in this country who really have misunderstanding about the historical facts of China, of Taiwan.
Matt, what did you make of his press conference, and also how the Albanese government is handling relations with China?
Well, what a normal relationship this is, Sharri. I mean, I've had to sit in the Senate the last year listening to Labor ministers say how normalised the relationship is between Australia and China, and apparently that's an example of it. But I think what really is telling from that is we're not going to be friends with China. They bully their own people, they bully other countries. Sure, I don't want to antagonise other nations, but the Labor Party have been on the wrong approach, trying to cosy up to a regime that's just a bully.
All right, Matt Canavan, Kosha Gada, thank you so much for your time.